Have you all been given the SIA badge?
Yes, everyone, by the time the Olympics, they turn up on site, they'll have it. I already had one, I already had mine, many people already had them, but some who were the long-term unemployed will get given their SIA licences. They do the course and they get giving it. But I was heard from other people that the courses were just people being rushed through the courses, and that in the SIA courses weren't being done properly. And that's G4S, because they apparently told me that they have an office within the SIA headquarters which is dedicated to G4S. So in a government building, you know, because the SIA licence is issued by the Home Office, in a Home Office government building, G4S are saying they have a floor where G4S can rush through their own applications.
Are they the only security company with such a floor?
They're the only security company who's told me there's a floor where these applications get rushed through. I don't know about any other company, so maybe that's something that you could look into.
If G4S are so inept, how come somebody hasn't flagged it up already? They must have MI5, MI6, the Army, the police, all around the Olympic Park at the moment. How come they haven't noticed any of these problems that you've been raising?
Well, they might have been, but they're not coming out to say it. No one's blowing the whistle, that's the problem. There's a press blackout out on this. I was told that officially they're not allowed to do any negative stories about the Olympics. He said there's a press blackout basically, and that Channel 4 wouldn't be interested anyway. And I was like, oh, okay. So maybe there are things that are going on and there are issues, and the police and the army and other services aren't saying it because they're trying to protect the Olympic legacy, name, whatever. Quite honestly, I'd rather it be safe than that. And but hopefully, with me doing this, it will open the door for other people to come out and say, you know what, it is awful. I mean, a lot of policemen won't do it because they're also got their jobs to think of. You know, if you're going to be a whistleblower, you are going to lose your job. So not only if you're going to whistleblow G4S, you've got to whistleblow the police, and they'll say, well, hold on a minute, you've not gone on the chain of command, you've gone straight to the press. So you're immediately, it's gross misconduct, you're sacked. Even if it's done on the whistleblower public information, you're sacked. They'll have the tribunal. Even if they end up paying you out money in 3 years' time, you've still been sacked. And a lot of people can't risk their jobs. They've got families and mortgages. Life is so expensive for people that you can't expect everybody just to say, okay, I'm blowing the whistle. Civilians, let's say, have been blowing the whistle, other than me.
Right, okay.
There's,
that would be good to know about.
Yeah, they're all over the internet. Yeah. There's a girl in the north of England, I think maybe in Nottingham, it's on the internet, who blew the whistle on G4S in their applications department, and basically said they're piling up applications all over the floor, they're not doing personal checks or reference checks of any kind, and it's a shambles, right? They sacked her, right? After she'd gone to the press, she said, look, and I think the same thing happened in my class that I suspect happens, she thought about, and it was, you actually do want to do a good job. You know, there's people in my training that they were coming up to me and saying, I feel insecure because I don't, they knew that they didn't know what they were doing, if that makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. So they were like, well, look, you know, how do I search somebody, you know, how do I remember it all, where to start? And it's because people haven't done it, if you haven't done it before, it's hard, you know. And I just said, look, as long as you go around everybody, you know, you go around their shoulders and their back and everything. If you go around them all and do them up and down, pretty much you're done. You know, just stick to that, and you'll get the method as you go. They felt insecure, and they know they're not being trained properly, but they also know that they're on show, so they personally don't want to be responsible for cocking up the Olympics, as it were. Now, G4S know this, right? And so they're crossing their fingers, hoping that these people can pull it out the bag on the day, yeah, and put on a good show for everyone, and everyone can clap and say, we got away with it, right? We hardly train people, this, that and the other, we got away with it. Of course, if something does go wrong, G4S can turn around and say, oh, what was the indigenous population of Stratford or Hackney or wherever people have come from, even though they've come from all over London, you know. They were untrainable, also we didn't have enough money from the government, we didn't have enough time. You know the excuses, that's the excuse they could use if something happened. And I thought that was unfair. So I thought I have to come out for the people that want to work for the Olympics, but just aren't being trained properly, you know.
What about these security guard uniforms? Did you mention on a radio show recently that some of these uniforms had gone missing?
Yep, absolutely. The trainers came into our classroom on more than one occasion. I think it was pretty much every day. I was there a couple of times during the day, and shouted at everybody. It's always the same way because they're army, so they like to shout. And said about costumes, uniforms going missing, and said only people with an email can go to collect a uniform. If you don't have an email, you can't turn up. And they said because people have been turning up without emails, but the person doing the dispatch, who was a G4S person, was handing out uniforms, and there was a disparity between how many pieces of paper they had and how many uniforms had gone missing. So they were, you know, trying to put a stop to that, you know. So because they kind of, I suppose, it kind of felt like they were saying, well, our guy is going to cock up, we know that. So only people with an email should go even to the dispatch, not try and get the dispatch to only give uniforms out to people with an email. They were doing it the other way around. So that didn't make sense either. So we know that terrorists use uniforms, you know. In Afghanistan, it's, you know, Al-Qaeda do that all the time, you know. They will go and they go to people selling ex-servicemen uniforms and stuff like that. They've managed to get, and they'll dress up as an American soldier and go and blow themselves up on a compound. Yeah, that's how you get in, you know. And they do it in Iraq as well. So we know that happens. So to have uniforms having gone missing, well, who have they gone missing to? We need to track them down. Otherwise, you need to get a new uniform, get new colours, new everything, because it's been compromised. That's why, you know, army people don't tend to walk around with their uniforms on unless they're actually doing official army business, and same with the police. So that's really important.
But also, if they haven't done proper background checks to the people that they're training,
you could be training a terrorist.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And they probably have been, quite honestly, and the terrorists, because the easiest way to compromise any security is to become the security. That's the easiest way to do it. So if you want, you know, you could put, you know, 100 terrorists into the Olympics and all get jobs through G4S, right?
But surely the higher up people in G4S must be aware of all these issues.
Yeah, and they were crossing their fingers and hoping that they get away with it. Not only this girl and me, but there was other people. I think even the BBC did a report on other whistleblowers who said how bad the dog training was. They were dog handlers, saying they weren't being trained properly. They weren't being trained to actually look under a car properly. And even though, you know, they were seeing people look into the cars with the mirrors, looking for bombs, they saw people not even doing that properly. The trainers were just going, yeah, that's fine. That's other people have been saying stuff like that, not just me. So, you know, there's been this general trickle of information as the run up to the Olympics went. And I knew that I was in there and I was getting all of this down. Some of the criticism has been levelled at me, really, is why didn't you covertly film this? Right? I have to make this clear that some situations you can't always film when you're an undercover journalist, because people search you. They're looking, G4S are looking for cameras and, you know, and undercover journalists. They are paranoid about journalists getting in there for this very reason, right? So every day I'd go in there, my bag would be searched and I'd have to show my email, right? So that was just the front gate security. And then during the day, say that somebody, you know, wanted to demonstrate, this is how you search somebody. I couldn't be sure that that wasn't going to be me, because they were doing that quite a lot, right? So if I was filming them with a camera on, and then I suddenly get searched, they'd find it, and guess what? That'd be it, over, and I wouldn't have found out anything, you know?
What about using a camera on the mobile phone?
I don't have a mobile phone.
Wouldn't it be a good idea to perhaps bought one for this
because
purpose?
Don't forget, it was as close as this. I could not have walked around with my mobile phone. They were telling everybody that there was jammers in the room, mobile phone jammers. They weren't, because I actually got that from one of the G4S people. I said, are there phone jammers in here? And he went, no, it's a verbal deterrent, right? They kept saying everyone put their phones away, because obviously you're in an Olympic venue. No matter that it's a training centre, it's classed as a non-sporting Olympic venue. So to have your phone out is a security breach in itself. It would almost be like me walking into you know, any government building with a mobile phone, filming it, and then they'd say to me, you're a terrorist, you're doing a surveillance video. That's what I would have been accused of being if I had been caught. So there was no way that you could get your phone out, even though I did see people taking pictures, but they were taking still pictures. Or maybe they did a bit of video, I don't know, I wasn't quite sure. But I definitely saw some people filming, but it was momentarily, it was kind of like, you know, snap, snap, and then it was back in the bag, right? One of the trainers actually saw somebody and made them delete his pictures. But then he didn't do anything to him. You know, he could have been a terrorist doing a surveillance video, but nothing happened to him. He was just allowed to continue. So I couldn't get a camera in there. I couldn't film. I thought of loads of different ways. I thought I could have like a hands-free device with a camera in it. Couldn't get that.
Voice recorder, perhaps.
Yeah, I thought about the voice recorder idea. But again, it was taping. They're paranoid about, you know, journalists. They're looking for people recording, you know. And stuff like that, so that wasn't going to work. It could, whatever I used couldn't be overt in any way, right? So I actually came up with the idea of a pair of glasses I've seen with a little camera in, and they would have been perfect, except that you had a wire that ran down the back of your neck to a video device that went in your pocket.
Oh right, that would have been a telltale sign.
You would have just seen it. I mean, I would have walked through the door, they would have said, "Get out with the camera." Yeah, you know, I mean, so there's no way I could have done it, and I thought of, you know. I mean, look, I'm not a spy, right? So I'm not James Bond. So, you know, all the gadgets, like, you could have a ring, or you could have a watch, or you could have this, that, and the other. That's not, you know, I have the basics, that's it, you know.